Few quick announcements. All of your grades are done with the exception of your career plan. Um, so quite a few people still need to turn that in, so I'll be grading those tonight, but everything else is done. If you got a note from me, please check your grades. There was a few people that I think got confused on Thursday and they turned the participation in for the assignment and vice versa. So I think there's just some confusion there. So make sure you double check, see if that's you, and if you can go ahead and turn that in correctly. What I do allow is for week one, in addition to your assignments being done by Sunday, I allow 1 week grace. So if you did not turn something in on week one, assignment only, I'm not talking about participation question. There will be week one will reopen this week for you to turn in any missed assignments. However, after this week, you cannot turn anything in for week one. There is no grace period after 1 week. Last week, I also allowed you guys to request to have your participation question reopened just because there were so many students that were being transferred in. Week one is always crazy. So I try to give, some flexibility with that. Starting this week, I'm still being flexible because your participation is due by 12:30, but I will continue for this week your 5 p.m. extension. After that, I'm not accepting it. After 5 p.m., please do not email me asking or texting asking to turn in your participation question beyond 5 p.m. Unfortunately, that has closed. That was a 1 week grace for week one, just because I know people are still trying to figure things out. So you already have an extension till 5 p.m. Beyond that, the participation question will be blocked. Now, so you still should have plenty of flexibility, guys, to get things done that you need. All right. And the other thing too is I noticed that there were a few people that did not turn into dates for their resume. I did look to see if maybe you had a reason for that. It seems like, I don't know if you just didn't read the instructions closely. So please check your grades on that. If you got a 50% on that assignment, it's because you did not do the other participation, the other schedule. So make sure that you can go back in and adjust that, and then you can get your full points. And then lastly, for the resume keywords, I always knew there's going to be one or two. Mostly it's the people that don't come to class, they don't watch the video, they do that assignment wrong. 90% of you guys were rock stars. Y'all killed that assignment. But there's a few that didn't do it right. Probably ones that are probably not even here. So please make sure you check that. If you did not get full grade, I gave it back to you, and I encouraged you to watch last Thursday's video. But for the most part, that's none of you guys here. But anyway, all right. So quick reminder that week 2 is open. So that means that your midterm is also open. Can you do your midterm early? Absolutely. You can. It's at your leisure. You have until Sunday to do that. It is open book. It will be on the chapters from week 1 and week 2. Obviously, we haven't done week 2 yet, so you might want to stick around for that. But if you go to the beginning of week 2, it shows you, what chapters we're in for week 2. We're in chapters 3 and chapter 10. So the midterm will be on chapters 1, 2, and 7, 3, and 10. But once you open it, you cannot open it again. Please do not open a midterm. There is no, let me take a peek at the questions and then close it. There's no need to do that. I still don't know why. I always get 1 or 2 people that do that. I'm not sure what they're thinking, but it's open book and there's no time limit on it. So And then once you open it, and it's random. So, the questions that you get when you open it the first time may not be the questions you get when you open it again. So there's really no reason to do that. So please do not open the midterm um, until you have an opportunity to sit down and actually do it. All right. All right. So let's get into chapter 3. Last week we talked about setting your career plans. I've looked at a few. Always miss the dates on the few. I don't know what. I don't know. I think I have to do a better job at showcasing those instructions in the assignment. I know we talk about it in class, but I always seem to get long-term goals with no end dates on it, right? So that's the main thing. Most people get it, right? But there's a few, they set long-term goals and they don't put an end date. And the end date is really critical, right? Because if you don't put a timeline on something, you'll be doing it forever. I don't care if you say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. Like that sounds really nice, and some people think that's a goal. That's, to me, that's not a goal. That's an aspiration. If you say, I want to lose 10 pounds by the summer, I want to lose 10 pounds by June, that's a goal. Now you have to figure out how you're going to do that. Okay, between now and June 30th is April 13th. I want to set a limit for losing, a pound every 2 weeks until April 30th. That's a goal. Now I've created steps. Now I'm going to cut back on my sugar. I'm going to exercise at least 3 times a week, and I'm going to, watch my calorie. I'm going to do a calorie deficit. Now I've put steps into place. That's a goal. That's a plan, right? So now I have a real goal. I have a target date, and I have a plan. I have action steps. Just saying, I want to lose weight. I want to lose 10 pounds. That's not a goal. So when you set goals, you can't just say, oh, I want to start my own business. I want to, become a technician. I want to, become a master electrician. That sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful, right? I want $1 million, when I grow up. You have to set a date on it, because you can't hold yourself accountable to anything, to aspirations. You can't hold yourself accountable to goals, right? Because what's going to happen if you say, I want to become a master electrician by 2031? Automatically it puts you in a mindset of, okay, now how in the world am I going to do that, right? What are the steps I'm going to take so that I can be successful, so that I can become a master electrician by 2031? So that's why it's so important to have dates. So if you did not put a date on your long-term goals, I'm not going to make you redo it. I'll just probably put a note, once I get to yours, and say, okay, I'm giving you credit, but please put a date on it, because for step 2 and step 3, you're going to need dates, so just be mindful of that. All right. And you will be using your long-term goals to do step 2 and step 3. So last week we talked about our goals. So for those of us that have our goals in mind, keep that goal in mind as we go into this week. So what are we talking about this week? We're talking about 2 things. Number 1, we're talking about, okay, now that I am, let's pretend we're well, actually, we don't have to pretend. We're into the thick of it, right? We're trying to become whatever it is we're trying to become. Whatever it is you say you're trying to become. We're in it now. We've committed to it. We have our goal set. We have to start to think about how we're going to, what's the strategy going to be to become that, right? Well, one tool, right? We talked about tools in the first week on the first day. One tool that you'll need to be successful to help you, actually accomplish those steps that we'll be setting for our goals, is knowing how to brand yourself, knowing how to market yourself. You're an entity. You're a business entity, essentially, because you are soliciting your services for cash. I know that sounds, I didn't know if I should say that, but that's what you're doing, right? That's what you're doing. So you have to market yourself. You are providing a service. That is what you're doing. If either you sell products or you sell services, that's the economy. All of us. So your business ID is your social security number. So if you put your business hat on, you have to say, okay, well, how am I going to market myself? You know, that's why we have LinkedIn accounts to help market yourself, because you know the business world knows that people have to market themselves. That's the environment in which we live. So you have to think, okay, well, if I have to market myself as what? Right? I know most of us would think that. What am I supposed to market myself as? Okay, am I supposed to just say I'm a welder? Okay, there's probably millions of welders out there. You probably want to do a little bit better than that. Okay, what type of welder? You know, what makes you different? What makes you unique? What makes you special, so to speak, right? What's your brand? What's your brand? Like, what type of welder are you specifically going to be? What's going to set you apart from the guy next door? Why is it that you have to do that? Why it has to be a competition? Well, that's life, right? Life is a competition. There's only so many resources. Like everybody's not going to buy your services. Everybody's not going to buy your product, right? Why should I choose you, welder number one, over welder number two? Am I just going to close my eyes and say, oh, I pick one? If you had a business, is that how you would, you know, hire people? Is that what you would do? Or if you got a welding company, how are you going to choose your staff? If you're a project manager at an HVAC company, how are you going to choose your team? You're not just going to be like, oh, door number one, door number two. You know, you guys all graduated, so it really doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, 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 it does. So as a welder, as an HVAC, as a technician, as an electrical person, I have to think about what is my brand, right? And from that, you need to think about promoting yourself once you figure out what your brand is. And these branding statements typically go on things that you promote yourself with in writing, whether it's your cover letter, your resume, your LinkedIn page, Instagram page. There's places to put these branding statements. But when you're out and about and you're talking to people, you also need to brand yourself. So, how do you do that? You don't walk around with a branding statement. You use what we call a personal commercial. It's how you introduce yourself in the business field. So, when we talked about those two things. So, your brand is what? It is your personal reputation. It identifies your aptitudes, and you remember aptitudes from week one. What is that about? Your natural ability, your skills, your personality, your values. That is your brand. You are unique. You are very different from any other person in the entire world. Is your brand. What is your brand? Now, how do you create that brand statement? Well, if you remember from resume writing, what I said to you is one of the critical reasons to have a summary on your resume is because that summary kind of outlines your brand. And typically, the first sentence in a summary is your branding statement. Why is that? Because what is it going to do? It's going to sum up your career in a sentence. For example, if I had my teaching resume, and I talked about you have different resumes for different things. How many of you understood the importance of those keywords from doing that keyword assignment? Did you learn something from that? Give me a thumbs up. Did you start to notice how these jobs don't all sound alike? They don't all look alike. They want different things, right? Now, let give me a thumbs up if you realize, oh, okay, I may have been guilty. How many of us have been guilty of maybe just sending our resume out to all these people just because it's listen, my hand is up. My hand is up. We're guilty of it because we didn't the more you know, the more you grow. That PBS commercial starts to make sense now, right? All right. So because the more you know, the more you do things better, right? You know that there's a saying that says you don't know what you don't know, but others do. I never heard of that before. This is what I always, it's my personal pet peeve, and I don't want to get on my soapbox about this, but I think educating yourself is so critical because you don't know what you don't know, but others do. Someone that you, and what does that mean? That means that you may not know better. You're sending out your resume, and this HR person, who could be a little stickler, and she sees your resume or he sees your resume, and they're like, this person has sent me this, and they didn't pay attention to what I put in the job advertisement. Do I even now they're judging you, right? Oh, they're judging you because you didn't know, you didn't realize what you were doing wrong. It's kind of like people judge us, in life, right? So you don't know what you don't know, but others do. That's why it's important for you to know as much as you can, because the more you know, I don't know, sometimes it can work in the inverse too, because they say the more you know, the more you isolate yourself from people, because now it's like you know too much. I'm telling you, that's true. That's true. That's true. But I digress. So when you have this resume, like for myself, again, I have an education resume, I'm going to have on my summary statement the summation of my education, credentials. So my summary statement could look something like, my personal statement rather, in my summary section would look something like a seasoned educator with 20 years of experience teaching in the business and technology field, right? That's a summary. But can you also see that it could be a brand statement? Does that kind of sound like a brand statement too? Like that's something I could throw on my cover letter. It's something I could throw on my LinkedIn. Something I could throw on my Instagram if I had a professional Instagram. And I'm going to talk about having a professional Instagram. You can always have more than one Instagram, Facebook, whatever. If you're on social media, I always encourage people to have more than one. Have your personal, have your professional. Or if you can just, if you're not really into the personal stuff, that much, and you just want one, I prefer to keep it professional, especially when you're starting your profession, keep it professional. But it's where you can throw that branding statement. You want your branding statement to be clear. You want it to be uniquely you, right? So you want it to be authentic. You want it to be relevant to what it is you do. You don't want a branding statement saying one thing and your career outline is something totally different. You want to try to be different if you can, right? You want to sound like you have some authority. Me saying I'm a seasoned educator, that gives me authority right there, because they're like, oh, okay, this person has been in the game for a minute. Then the person goes on to say 20 years in the game. Okay, that gives me some authority, right? I made it this far, so hopefully I know a little something, right? Right. And so you want them to be engaging, right? That tells them something, that lets them know that, okay, before I even read her resume, now I know what I'm dealing with. So that's what that personal brand does. When we get into learning about social media platforms and LinkedIn, I'm going to have you guys watch a video with me of this professor. She does, these does a great job at teaching you all about LinkedIn. And she's going to talk about how that brand statement, how you're going to use it and how you're going to place it on your LinkedIn so that, you can get noticed. And we'll talk about how recruiters use that brand statement. And then we'll also talk about how those keywords we can put into those statements and how recruiters actually use software. Even on LinkedIn accounts, these recruiters are using software to extract pages, your web pages, because that's basically what LinkedIn is a web page. For people that have certain keywords on their web page, they even use those ATS systems on LinkedIn, guys. Yes. So this brand statement is important. What is it? It's one sentence typically that describes what a potential job candidate has to offer. It does reflect, like we talked about, any type of skill or ability that you can sum up in a sentence. Essentially, it is a tagline. It's a slogan to help persuade someone to want to even get to know you so they can hire you, right? The goal is to give the employer an idea of who you are. So how do you create a brand statement? Well, if we follow the guidance of Miss Taylor, we're going to start to see the breadcrumbs. Everything you do in one assignment will help you for the next assignment. If you've done your resume, and if you have a summary section, give me a thumbs up if you got that summary, whether you call it a summary, qualifications profile, who has it? Your life is going to be so easy. All right. Now, let me ask you something. Jacquees, you have a question? Jacquees, you have a question, or you're just saying yes?
I did my resume with career service. But like I've been putting it out there, how you say giving it to companies and stuff, and like they all been saying the same stuff, like you ain't meeting the qualifications or we move forward. So that mean like something wrong with my resume.
So, okay, let's, so you have a resume, yes?
Yes. I
You
completed it with the career service, like
you completed with
career
career
s-
services, okay?
like I've been
You
putting my resume out
you've been
and
putting
like
your resume out there. So let's back up. So I feel like we're in session. We all gonna help Jacquez. Jacquez, am I pronouncing your name right?
yes, man.
All right. Does anybody already have some questions for Jacquez before? I want to see who's been learning. Who has a question for Jacquez? What question you think I'm going to ask Jacquez? Somebody help me. What's the first question I'm going to ask Jacquez? Go ahead, Crystal.
What specific job title is it that you're applying for, and does it reflect in your resume specifically?
I'm applying for HVAC. I got EPA certification. I got all my stuff. I'm just waiting on somebody to get back.
So like
Jennifer, you want to ask a follow up? Go ahead. Sorry, Crystal. Go ahead.
yeah, so specifically like what we learned last week, in the keywords, like are any of those listed in your resume?
Oh, I'm not sure. That's probably what the problem is.
Jennifer, you want to give him something? You want to say something too?
I was gonna ask if he was checking back in with the employer, but as like she just said with the keywords, maybe he just needs to update it, just like with this course, and he would get more responses.
Now, you know something I did to what Jennifer's saying, Jacquez? That's happened to me. It happens to all of us. I redid my resume and I sent it back to him again. And you know, I got called. It's not like they remember.
Yeah, that's
I
probably what
so
I gotta
Oh, I
do.
remember your old one.
listen, they didn't remember. They didn't remember me. I redid my whole resume and sent it back, and I got a call back.
Oh, okay. That's good.
No, I'm telling you, it's happened to me. That's what I'm saying. It happened to the best of
Updating
us.
it, like you said, constantly updating. When you learn new stuff, update.
Yeah, but I'm like, I actually applied for a job with this company, and like Jacquez was saying, I wasn't getting any hits. I was like, "What's up?" So I was like, you know what? And I'm telling you guys this as a professor, and I knew better because I was being a little lazy. So listen, I'm no better than anybody else, and I wasn't getting a hit. And I was like, man, you know what? I know what to do. I went back in and I redid my resume, and I made it. I really just loaded it up with everything that they were asking for, and I got a call back. No, I actually did have the experience. I'm not saying I had the experience, but I was being lazy. I didn't want to redo my resume. And I sent it and I didn't get a hit. I sent it back and I got a hit. And it's not probably because they just used ATS. It wasn't because they were like, oh my God, this person's so amazing. The computer probably said yes. Because I told y'all they use those computers. So you got to be smart. You got to outsmart that ATS system. It makes it. So, Jaquez, are you using, does your resume has the summary section?
I'm finna put it up right now.
Okay, while he's doing that, everybody else who has it, like I said, who has that summary qualifications profile section? I thought I saw some thumbs, but let me see it again. All right. Now, I don't know if you have yours with you, like if you want to pull it up like Jaquez is doing. If your summary section has this one brief statement, then your work is going to be really easy for today. But I want you to keep it up, keep it fresh in your mind, because I want you to ask yourself the question. For those of us that don't have it, I got a little trick for you at the end of this class, so don't worry.
Mm.
One, we want career services to help us with it. But even if career services didn't do it, I'm going to show you how to get one done really quickly. Go ahead, Jaquez.
Nah, I don't have the summary part in my
All right,
resume.
so that's all right. I'm gonna take care of that. We're gonna take care of that today. All right. Because remember, even if career services is doing yours for you, can always add to it, right? They don't care if you add to it. as long as you don't not add anything that's incorrect. So now, what should that summary say? What should that personal statement say? That personal statement should have, like we already talked about, some skills, right? Ideally, before you apply for anything, it's going to have your whatever skills that you want to promote about yourself. Now, once you get ready to apply for a job, you may have to tweak it a little bit to make sure, hey, if I don't have anywhere else to put this skill that they wanted, let's say they want somebody with project management. Maybe you've had some project management, you didn't have it on your resume. You can go in that personal brand statement, that summary section, and put some type of word about project management in it, right? But for now, we haven't applied to any job, so we get to say whatever we want to say, whatever we think is best. So we want to have some type of skill set. For me, I just said I called myself an educator. That's a technical skill, right? I said I'm a seasoned educator. So that is a soft skill of sorts, right? That's in my branding statement. I could go further if I wanted to. You know, I did talk about being an educator in business and technology. So that's another skill set. Kind of see what I did. So you want it to be short, you want it to be descriptive, right? And you want it to be succinct. So one sentence is good. We talked about where do you use it? Resumes, cover letters, portfolios like LinkedIn accounts. In chapter 3, it gives you some examples here. What should it look like? Most of them start with A because you're talking about yourself. I said a seasoned educator. Some other examples: a creative problem solver. Notice how they're using these adjectives, right? A writer who's able to blend communication is the second bullet. Third bullet: a driven team player. A customer service professional. A product development coordinator, a product manager who implements soft skills to continually promote client-based blah blah blah. Y'all kind of see what that statement is doing, right? So, and you can see how that makes sense. That would make sense right on, your cover letter, your LinkedIn accounts, this brand statements. Does that make sense, guys, so far? Don't worry about, okay, Miss Taylor, but how am I going to write one? I'm going to show you a trick in a minute. But does that make sense? All right. Now let's say I have my brand statement. Let's say I have it because I already have it on my resume. I already got my brand statement. That's a check mark. What do I do now? Well, I also want you to think about, okay, so in building my career, I have to promote myself, right? I have to promote myself. So, Jaquez, go ahead and put your hand down if you don't have a question, because I'm going to I get a little alert. So I'm thinking somebody has a question, but I think it's you. Let's say, I'm out promoting myself and I'm trying to get a job. I'm a teacher. I want to, make some more money. And I go out to an event and I see a company that I want to work for. How do I promote myself? Maybe I'm in an elevator and I bump into someone and I want to promote myself. Maybe I bump into the president of the school and I want to talk to him about a job. I want to talk to her about a job. How do I pitch myself? Well, your personal commercial is how you introduce yourself. Back in the day, we used to call it an elevator pitch. Who's heard of that term, elevator pitch? That was because in corporate America, the only time people would see the big man is in an elevator, right? Because your office typically wasn't at the top. That's what his office was. So the only time you saw him, coming down is in the elevator or the escalator. Think about Donald Trump. And so that was the only time that you saw it, right? So it's like, okay, let me make this sales pitch. Let me make this elevator pitch to talk about myself, because typically you got 30 seconds, less than a minute to introduce yourself. But if you think about that in terms of, at large, let's say you're in an airport, or let's say you're at the grocery store, you're somewhere and you want to introduce yourself to this person for whatever reason you want to introduce yourself to this person. You need some type of personal commercial. It's not like in our personal social lives. You go and introduce yourself to someone. You don't be like, "Hey, how are you doing? My name is Cynthia." No, you don't. Yeah. right? You want to have some type of professional sales pitch to meet people, right? So how do you do that? Well, very similar to your statement, you kind of have to develop this commercial. Here's the good news. If you already have a statement, you're going to start there. So for those of us that have our resume, check mark, we have that personal brand statement, check mark. Now I'm going to use the statement to make a commercial about myself. I'm still going to talk about hard and soft skills. I'm going to talk about maybe a little bit about, my education or what I do if I do have a job already. And then I'm going to basically tell them why I'm talking to them. Because at the end of the day, when you introduce yourself to someone, you gotta say what do you want, right? That's that's the main point. So if I'm trying to create a commercial about myself, on the left hand side, let's pretend I have my statement. I'm a marketing professional who's dedicated to creating jaw dropping promotions. That's something I would throw on my LinkedIn account. But if I bump into someone, what am I going to say? Well, obviously, I'd have to introduce myself, So in this example, I'm Susan Rakowski. So I'm like, hi, I'm Susan Rakowski. And then if I already have a job, I can tell them what I have. I'm an assistant, marketing product manager, whatever business you have. She goes on to say with a degree in marketing communications. Does your commercial need to be that wordy? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on, if you have a lot of skills. If you don't have a lot of skills, like me, I'm not going to talk about, hey, my name is Cynthia Taylor. I'm a seasoned professor with 20 years of experience in business and IT, and then talk about where I graduated school from. Like I graduated a very, very long time ago. Once you say you've been in the game 20 years, people expect you to have a degree. Now, if you're straight out the gate, yeah, okay, I just transitioned. I'm a new HVAC tech, recently graduated from Southern Tech. Yeah, that holds weight when you're newer in the game. But once you've been in the game for a bit, you don't really have to talk about where you went to school, right? But anyway, that's what Susan did. She went on to say where she was located and what it is she's trying to accomplish. Now, let me help you out with your commercial. If you got 30 seconds in the game, because the 30 seconds is not just you only have 30 seconds, it's you're introducing yourself to someone. And think about if a stranger was coming up to you, how long do they have to disarm you before you're like, what weirdo is this? Right? I don't care who you are. If a stranger walks up to you, you're like, what's up, right? That's anybody, right? So you got 30 seconds to disarm this person to let them know what's up. Hi, I'm Cynthia Taylor. I'm a seasoned, educator in business and IT. I'm gonna get right into what I want. I saw your company was looking for a new, maybe I might say, I go on to say, I've worked for this company, and that company. But then I'm gonna get straight to the point. I saw your company was looking for a new faculty member in law. You mind if I show you my resume, or you mind if you tell me who I should talk to about X, Y, and Z? That's what I'm going to do, because now the person's disarmed and they know, oh, okay, so this stranger, she's told me who she is. She told me what she's about, and she wants to know, if I could, connect her. Now I know what's up. Now I have an opportunity to continue to engage with her, or to disengage, or to do whatever. But your personal commercial is how you introduce yourself to someone in business. Does that make sense? You should always know why you're talking to someone, right? So you don't really go up and introduce yourself if you don't have something to say, unless it's just you're sitting around and maybe you're at a conference and you guys all had lunch together. You're all at this conference together. And sometimes, you're in a conference and they're like, hey, everybody introduce themselves. Typically, that's what you want to do. Hey, I'm Cynthia Taylor. I've been in teaching for about 20 years and this, and that. That's what people want to know. They don't want you to be all long-winded. Nobody's asking you, how many dogs you got, unless you're in the VA program. That may be very relevant. But for the rest of us, no, you don't start talking about anything personal until that invitation has been given. All right. So when you do create a personal commercial and elevator pitch, you got to practice, right? Because none of us, unless you've owned your own business, or you've been in your career for a minute, you go around talking about yourself. Now, once you've been in your career for a minute, you're going to get so used to talking about yourself, because whether you're, you know, going from job to job, or maybe your job requires you to be engaged with somebody else, whether it's a customer or whatever, you're going to get so used to introducing yourself, because that's what business is. You got to introduce yourself to people. You're working with customers, clients. You're going to be talking about yourself all the time. You know, so you got to practice, right? So that's why we want you to practice this little personal commercial, right? That's what we want you to do today. All right. So before you do that, I'm going to have you watch this elevator pitch. Now, this is going to be of some students that bumped into their campus president, their school president, in an elevator. We're going to see how they did. I just need to turn the sound on. So that's why I'm make sure the video plays. Let me see if I do it this way, if it comes back up. Oh, now. Okay. All right. My computer's, I hate when the computer make you feel bad. He didn't have to put that little sad face like that. Hold on, guys. My second computer is so slow. Sound is on. Let me do it this way. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know if it's gonna let me do it like this, but let me just see. All right, here we go. What? Why they treated me so bad? Let's see. Making me do all this work for 2 minutes. All right. Is it playing? All right, let me do it another way. Put yourself on mute, Jacqueline. Let me. Oh, Lord. Oh my God. All right, so let me just trying to close it out. But I want to show you guys. I'm show you the video, but I'm also teeing up the show you guys how to do the personal brand statement. Now it's just froze. How many of you guys have ever used like a Chat GPT or use Google Gemini or anything like that? Anybody? Yeah, good. All right. So what I want you to do, and I'm just talking while I'm trying to pull it up. If not, I can pull it up from my other computer. Why is it froze? So annoying. What I want you to, if you don't have a summary on your resume, who has a summary and they don't have a resume? They don't have, who has a resume and they don't have a summary? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, finally. One, a couple people. Okay. What you're going to do, you're going to go to like Google Gemini, or you can go to Microsoft Pilot. You can go to you can go to Chat GPT. You can go to any platform that you want, and you're going to put your resume in there, and you're going to tell it to create you a summary. And you can tell it a 4-sentence summary, a 3-sentence summary, whatever you want it to do. And you can tell it and it'll typically, whatever they create for you, if you want to use that for your personal brand statement at the beginning, you can. Or if you want to then also say, create me a personal brand statement, you can do that too, right? So I'm going to show you here in a minute. I'm logging this back in because it was frozen, so I had to reset it. So I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly, and then I'm going to show you this video quickly, then I'm going to show you that. All right. Because it's so easy to talk about doing a personal pitch and then you actually do it, then we all fumble. So I just want y'all to see that. It's coming up. Give me a second. Oh my God. Hopefully it's coming up. Right. So even in your classroom, I showed you guys this really quickly. There's these videos are there, but all right. So if I were to go to your, oh God, the classroom. Am I? Oh, duh. I have to make it freeze up. Me and my technical issues this morning. I'm sorry, guys. All right. So if I scroll down, I'm just going to click on elevator pitch. Oh, I did it again, guys. Y'all know what I keep doing? I keep forgetting to turn the sound on. Ah, every time you share, you have to turn on the sound or else you won't be able to hear it. All right. So let's see if you can hear it. What is going on? Play the video. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Once we get Amber Alerts right in the middle of class. What's not? You guys don't hear it, right? Oh, it's so annoying. Forget it. All right, forget that. Y'all see where it is. It was supposed to be a nice video, but I don't have time to keep trying to play the video. Let me go ahead and show you the next thing I was going to show you, then we can get out of here. Sorry about that. So let's say we go to like a, yeah, we know we're having a problem. Lord have mercy. All right. Oh my God. Y'all see my computer. Okay, this is, what is happening? I think I may have to refresh. Just close everything. Hang in there with me, guys. My whole thing just went away. I was having a good morning. Jeez. This is crazy. And forget it. Now it won't even let me show. Okay, goodness. All right. So if I were to go to not even letting me, and it's frozen on you guys' part. I'm looking at your section is frozen. All right, forget it. All right. I don't know why it's doing that, guys. Sorry about that. I may have to do it this way, which I don't like to do because now I can't see what I'm doing, but let me just do it this way. I'm going to show you guys on my other computer. Unless something's happening with Microsoft. Maybe it's not me. Somebody let me know if they can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen, this new screen. All right. Let's see if I can do it here. So if I were to do this out the way. So if I just go to, y'all see where where it says open Copilot, y'all see that where I'm circling? If I click there, right, it automatically puts you in what we call AI mode, right? Y'all hear about AI all the time. And normally, schools are on the fence about using AI, not using AI. In certain instances, obviously, using AI is fine. So when it comes to this, right, writing your resume, this is not you're looking for answers about your test. It's fine. So I would actually go right here and I would put my resume in. I would do plus and I would add, and then I would choose my resume and put it as an attachment. And then you can just tell it exactly what you want it to do. You can say, create a summary for me. Use the attached resume. Right? But let's say even if you didn't want to attach your resume and you wanted it to create a summary for you, you can tell exactly what you want to do. You can say, create a summary for me that I can put on my resume. I am an educator, 20 years, I can spell. 20 years in business and IT. I also have a background. And this is wherever I wanted to kind of put in, I'll say government, contracting, and finance. Let's see what it does. So here it's saying, I'm giving you some options. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Okay. They overdoing it, but that's okay. They gave me 3 options. Look at that. It says, I will put A in front of it, but that's okay. A dynamic educator and business IT professional with 20 years of experience leading learning technology and operational initiatives. Okay. An accomplished educator and technology leader with 2 decades of experience driving instructional excellence. Okay, they really laying it on thick, but I like it, right? an experienced educator and IT professional with 20 years of experience of success in instructional delivery technology, blah, blah, blah. Y'all see what they're doing? Isn't that wonderful? Now, I don't even really have to tell it to create for me a personal statement because I could just take that first sentence. Most summaries is personal statements. And there's a statement for me. So this is exactly what you can do. For your participation assignment, I want you to create, or you can use Copilot to do it, or Gemini, whatever you want. And you can use it as your personal statement. Does everyone understand? Give me a thumbs up. Let me see. Kind of weird using this computer, but okay. Now, Miss Taylor, what about that commercial? Guess what? For your homework assignment, I want you to create a commercial, but I don't care if you use Copilot to do it. You can also say, create a, you could say personal commercial or elevator pitch because they know both. An elevator pitch. My name is Cynthia Taylor. Let's see what it writes. Look at that. My name is Cynthia Taylor. I might start with hi. My name is Cynthia Taylor, and I'm an educator and business IT professional with 20 years of experience strengthening organizations through training technologies. Now, the one thing I hate about IT is that it always does this three little thing, this, and this. You know, that's not necessarily how we speak. So if you're not even comfortable with that, even though this is just for school, hi, my name is Cynthia Taylor, an educator and IT leader with 2 decades of experience helping organizations operate effectively. I could even tell it, this sounds a little too computer. Make it be a little bit more natural. I could tell it, use a more natural conversation tone. I don't like it. It sounds a little too robotic for me. You see what it did? I'm just teaching y'all how to do a little prompt engineering. It's what I do. So a little prompt engineering. You see how you can make it be a little bit more natural, right? So it doesn't, you know. So however you want to do it. Do we have any questions on that? Does that make sense? So what are you going to do for your participation? I want to see a personal brand statement. Copy and paste. You're done. You're out of here. For your homework assignment, I want to see the commercial. You can use this, copy and paste commercial. You're done for the day on that too. I'm easy. All right? But do something you know that you want to do. Don't just do it, just do I want you to, this is you. This is real, okay? Do we all understand? Does anybody need me to put the PowerPoint up? It's just, that's exactly what I'm going to say, but all right. All right, my friends. Well, if you don't have anything else from me, I'm going to let you get out of here. I'm just going to throw this PowerPoint back up just for the people that watch the video so they can see it. But if you understand, go ahead, Vincent.
For tomorrow, the ATA college students are going to do a mock interview. Will we have to still somehow join the call?
Yeah, because your thing is at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're here at 9.
But
Yeah.
for the
So
people
yeah.
who
So that, huh?
driving, but for the people who are driving,
Then you can just listen to this afterwards. You still have until 5 o'clock to turn it in. Remember,
okay.
if you can't make it for whatever reason, you got a class thing, you got a whatever thing, you can always watch the video and just do the assignment and turn it in by 5. I muted myself. You understand? So in other words, going to your career services meeting is not in lieu of doing your live session. It doesn't substitute, if that's what you're asking. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Is that what you're asking? I'm not sure who that was. My thingy went away.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. What I was gonna do, because I have mine tomorrow as well, was go to the school physically at 9, or, be there by 9 so that I can do the class
Mhm.
and then be already there for that 10 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I actually normally my class is at 10. I actually made it at 9 just for you guys because I know they normally do your thing at 10. I bumped up my class till 9 so I wouldn't interfere with that. But regardless, whatever your situation is, whether you're going to career services, you got a doctor's appointment, whatever, that's why the alternative to the live session to get participation points. Like if you don't want participation points, you don't have to do it. Is if you don't make the live session, you can always watch the video. So that's what the video is for, in case you can't make the live session for whatever reason. Sounds good? All right, y'all. If you don't have any questions, you're free to go. I don't know, Krista and Vincent, your hands are up. I don't know if that's by mistake or if it's just my system showing your hands are up.
Hey,
Well,
Skip, so the
I had a
particip
question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
now I was just gonna ask, was the participation question is creating a summary, or is it like what was the participation question again?
I know, I was trying to pull it up because my second computer is acting wonky. It's to do the personal brand statement.
Oh, that was my question too, so.
Yeah, so I know, that's why I know people need to see it in writing. I know. That's why I was trying to put it up anyway, because you need to see it in writing, but my second computer is doing something crazy. So the participation question is create a personal brand statement. So it's not a question this time, it's an actual work. Remember, I told you guys, it's not going to always be a question. Sometimes it's going to be an actual assignment. So the participation for today is to create a personal brand statement. That's why I wanted to show you guys a way you can knock that out real easy, right? You could just, if you don't already have a summary where you could just take it from, you can create it real quick, using the computer. And then your homework assignment, what you can do now or by Sunday is the commercial. But I showed you how you can knock both of them out now if you want to. Does that answer your question? Yes, Vincent? Or is your hand still just up? Okay. All right, guys. Have a good day.